Donnarumma to be Man City's new goalkeeper. Saudis put 350 million euros on the table for a Real Madrid star. Liverpool speed up talks for Marc Guehi, while Newcastle leave Isak out of the squad. All that and loads more in today's episode. But before we get into it, as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Ready? Let's jump into the latest transfer rumors. Marc Guehi is, in all likelihood, set to become a Liverpool player. The Crystal Palace captain has emerged as Arne Slot's leading candidate, and according to reports, negotiations between the clubs have begun. For Slot, Guehi represents reliability and immediate Premier League experience. No adaptation required, plug and play. An ideal balance between short-term security and a longer-term plan. But is it really that simple? On the one hand, Florian Plettenberg of Sky Germany describes Guehi as Slot's clear priority, and the defender is said to want to join the Reds. Fabrizio Romano is confident it's well on track, and positive relations between the clubs should help conclude the deal swiftly. On the other hand, The Guardian report that Oliver Glasner is in no hurry to release his captain. With European competition ahead, albeit the Conference League, he is reluctant to lose his defensive leader. It is said Guehi is even prepared to stay for another year if the clubs cannot agree. So, what's at issue? As usual, the contract. Guehi is entering the final year of his agreement, and Palace fully understand that in 12 months they risk losing a major asset for nothing. That is a different matter entirely. Therefore, however Glasner may resist, the club are obliged to sell an England international, a captain, at his peak. No one will allow that to go for free. At Liverpool, Guehi would most likely begin as the third choice in central defense behind Van Dijk and Konate. Yet, given the Frenchman's uncertain future, the route to the starting 11 could prove unexpectedly short. The move appears the obvious solution, and what else appears obvious? If you've watched to this point, you're clearly engaged. Choosing not to subscribe would be even less logical than Palace trying to retain a player with an expiring contract. Let's keep it simple. The subscribe button is your transfer to the channel, no negotiations involved. Romano's position seems the most credible. Liverpool want Marc Guehi here and now. That is their plan. And although Palace are trying to hold their line, the contract situation gives Liverpool freedom to act. Personal terms with the player are already agreed, so it is merely a matter of time and the final sum. Barca are racing the clock again, not a rival. Marca say they need to jam 5 names onto La Liga's list before Mallorca. Hansi Flick still hasn't a clue what 11 he'll throw out in the opener. Is that any way to start a season? For Barca, sure, but Flick didn't sign up for this. Priority number 1, the keeper. Ter Stegen's crocked. Szczesny isn't even registered, so all eyes are on Joan Garcia. The club have already lobbed La Liga Ter Stegen's medical to clear an emergency slot. If they don't get it done, Iñaki Peña's in goal. And that's not plan B, that's any old plan. And it's not just the gloves. Also queuing. Marcus Rashford, Rooney Bargi, Gerard Martin and Szczesny. The hitch? The injury exemption from Ter Stegen legally covers only one body. Everyone else has to go through the usual budget funnel, meaning Barca need the 1-to-1 rule back. Enter Laporta's lever. The club are waiting on the auditor's green light for the VIP boxes at Spotify Camp Nou. Once that's ticked off, La Liga should rubber stamp it and hand Barca back 1-to-1 flexibility. Will it land before Mallorca? No one's sticking their neck out. In the meantime, the board, Pers Mundo Deportivo, have gone early. They've unanimously okayed a €7 million guarantee to La Liga. Pragmatic stuff. Tied to those VIP boxes, it patches the gap and eases the cap squeeze. The message is blunt. We want to start without off-field sludge, and we'll put cash on the table now. Another clock is ticking, the building site. The Camp Nou return is penciled in for 14th September for Valencia, but the ECA flagged roughly 200 snags to fix before licenses are issued. You get the picture. Register players today and fire up the angle grinder on the stadium today. Zero wiggle room. As of now, that's the play. If the audit clears fast and La Liga restore 1-to-1, Barca get room to register the lot and Garcia could debut in week 1. If the red tape drags, the priority holds. Keeper first, the rest wait on the boxes and the budget. And yes, the start will be jittery off the pitch as much as on it. So the question isn't who's stronger than Mallorca. It's whether Barca can get the paperwork signed before kickoff. Rasmus Højlund looks set to ditch Manchester United. The Dane has twigged that with Šeško coming in, he's getting the bench at best. Milan are rubbing their hands. The Rossoneri are close to a €6 million loan with a €40 to €45 million buy option. Højlund crashed and burned last season. 4 Premier League goals for United's number 9 is an embarrassment. He arrived for 72 million euros and scored less often than some clubs' defenders. And it wasn't only the goals, he barely affected the game. Forever lost between center-backs, unable to hold it up. This summer, Rasmus hit pre-season with fire in his eyes. Even Amorim praised him after Bournemouth. Then the Red Devils went and signed Šeško from RB Leipzig. And Højlund suddenly binned off the fight for his place. A week ago, the Dane swore he'd stay and scrap. Now he's packing for Milan. The Rossoneri are desperate for a striker. Massimiliano Allegri is banking on Højlund clicking in Serie A. Maybe in a slower league, the Dane finally remembers how to score. But in this form, Milan risk another pricey dud. Funny that Newcastle are watching as well. Seems the Magpies are collecting strikers who don't score. Eberechi Eze appears inclined to join Tottenham Hotspur. According to Give Me Sport, Spurs have made the 27-year-old playmaker their principal target. They require creativity and goals after Maddison's anterior cruciate ligament injury. Arsenal remain engaged and have not stepped away, but the latest updates are a setback for the Gunners. The player favors the Spurs project. The key mechanism is Eze release clause, £60 million guaranteed plus £8 million in add-ons. Importantly, TalkSport and Standard Sport report the clause remains valid until Friday, a window for Levy to press the button and avoid negotiations. Tottenham have already requested the clause details from Crystal Palace in case they choose to activate it or mirror its terms after expiry. Palace wish to see the same £68 million in any case. Trigger now or pay the same later. Spurs have a minimum valuation and an ideal price, and Levy intends to move swiftly while the clause is active. We are talking about approximately £60 million without excess. Tottenham require a player who can cover the number 10 role, the left half space, and carry the ball through the lines, all strengths of Eze. Hence, per the briefings, Thomas Frank is a strong admirer and is directly advocating this move. The logic is straightforward. Spurs' creativity and ball progression are currently concentrated in 1 or 2 players. With Eze, the load can be distributed without waiting for Maddison's return. Let's take a brief pause so you can leave a like or a dislike on this episode. Any reaction helps. Thank you for your activity. It really supports the channel. What of Arsenal? The Gunners are maintaining contact and the player is open to their project. That is universally noted. But at present, the vector tilts towards Spurs. The only factor that might swing the pendulum back is if Levy begins to delay after Friday. Once the clause expires, Palace can raise the asking price and prolong negotiations, and Arsenal will gain space for their own scenario. Ultimately, it all comes down to timing. Levy enjoys bargaining, but here it is only possible until the option's expiry. If Spurs make it in time, they secure an elite playmaker for a fixed £60 million without unnecessary fuss. If they miss it, protracted talks with Palace follow, on Palace's terms. In any event, the race for Eze has entered its decisive phase, with the resolution due this week. Adam Wharton to Real Madrid. Daily Mail reckon Los Blancos are properly muscling in on the 20-year-old Crystal Palace midfielder, already hailed as England's new hope. And this isn't just the classic let's monitor. At the Bernabeu, they see Wharton as the brains of their future midfield. What's the kid like? If you don't watch Palace even 6 pints down, he's legit. Calm, silky, with elite vision. In the Prem, they call him a deep-lying playmaker. Folks, quick one. Don't leave without a reaction. Thumbs up or down and drop a comment. It really helps the channel. Xabi Alonso, for one, is buzzing about this type. Word is he pushed for it. A midfielder with a brain, not just legs and crosses, but someone to run the show. To flip transitions, read the game 5 steps ahead, and do it for the next decade. Wharton, they say, ticks that box. Also, an international, young, English. Palace aren't flogging him just because it's Real. You want Wharton? It's £100 million. Contract through 2029, remember? And Palace have enough on their plate to let the heartbeat of the side walk. But let's be real, if Real Madrid truly decide Wharton's their guy, they'll stump up. We've seen what they've splashed on Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Bellingham. They don't shy away when it's the engine room. And this one's English, marketing bump included. England, the 3 Lions, eyeballs, media. Madrid count that too. Here's the snag. Real aren't alone. There's a queue already. Liverpool breathing down their necks, City on the hunt, United suddenly fancy controlling midfield again. Wharton's got a shop window right ahead. Every game's an audition, scouts 3 deep in the stands. Is that perfect for the player? Tricky. On the plus side, the top clubs are in, and he can pick his next chapter. Flip side, if Palace dig in and block a move, he can end up stuck in a holding pattern. And if he does go, is he really a £100 million player when a year ago only the Eagles fans knew him? Judging by Real's playbook, maybe yes. They like buying tomorrow before it's out of reach, and it hasn't often blown up on them. The question is the lads, ready to swap the Premier League, where he's comfy, no language barrier, for the Bernabeu pressure cooker and scrap with the likes of Bellingham and Valverde? Or is he built for that? Lastly, comments please. Would you take him straight into Real's 11 for $100 million? Sound? Or is it too soon? Let him cook a couple more years in the Prem and Real can look elsewhere? Alexander Isak has gone full boycott on Newcastle. The Swede won't pull on the Magpies shirt and is ready to sit at home to the end of his deal rather than play. The Athletic say even if the window slams shut without a move, Isak reckons his time at Newcastle is done. Liverpool lobbed in £110 million, but the Magpies told the Scousers to do one. Now Newcastle want £150 million. Isak's a top striker, sure, but not that top. Right now, the Swede is training on his Todd, away from Eddie Howe's lot. The whole team are grafting on the grass while Isak's pinging a ball in a corner, and he's still got 3 years left. So Newcastle can basically say, sulk all you like, you're going nowhere. Liverpool are playing the waiting game. The Merseysiders won't table a second bid, they're just watching the soap opera roll on. Smart, that. Why overpay when the player's squeezing the club from the inside? Newcastle's stance was clear. Sell Isak only after a replacement is in. But where do you find one in mid-August? All the elite number 9s are spoken for. Unless you yank Benzema out of Saudi, pure fantasy. I don't buy that Isak dreamed up this ultimatum himself. Far more likely, his agents are stirring the pot. The Swede always came across as a proper pro, a dressing room leader. And now this, I'm never playing for Newcastle again. Smells like reps angling for the fattest commission. The issue is, no one but Liverpool is ready to stump up that kind of cash for Isak. Chelsea have already loaded up this window. Arsenal spent elsewhere. That leaves the Reds, and they're not coughing up £150 million. If the window shuts and Isak's still at Newcastle, they'll have to spin a U-turn. 3 years on his deal is a headache for the club. He can rot on the bench and pick up his wages, but he'll torpedo his career. At 25, binning off minutes is footballing suicide. So, most likely, if there's no transfer, you'll see a reintegration, apologies, handshakes, the lot. But if Isak really has gone all in, there's no way back. With statements like that, you either walk or you're a pariah in the dressing room. Toon fans are fuming already. Imagine the noise in the ground if he turns out after all this. Newcastle have boxed themselves in. Taking £110 million would have made sense, but they dug in at £150 million. Now they're stuck with a sulking star poisoning the mood. Classic case of greed doing a mug in. The Saudis are back at their old tricks. This time they want to snap up Mbappé for €350 million. The figure's so bonkers even PSG in their pomp didn't splash like that. They're ready to pay Kylian Ronaldo money at Al Nassr rates, around $200 million a year. Real wouldn't even pick up the phone. This all kicked off after the Saudis made a mess of Vinicius, remember? They dangled €1 billion over 5 years and €300 million for the fee. Vini told them to get lost, so the Sheikhs switched to Mbappé. Simple logic. They need a headline superstar to buff the league's image. Defensa Central say the package is primed. €350 million to Madrid and a Ronaldo-tier contract for Kylian. Plus bonuses, sponsors, the whole bells and whistles treatment, money that could buy half of Monaco. Only problem, Florentino Perez isn't talking. To him, Mbappé isn't just a player, he's the club's marquee asset, the face of the next Galacticos. Selling him would be flogging the club's soul. Picture the fan meltdown if Perez sold Kylian a year after he finally rocked up in Madrid. Bigger than the Super League fallout. Mbappé himself has zero appetite for Saudi. He's 26, bang in his prime. The 2026 World Cup's on the horizon, and he wants payback for Qatar. How do you prep for a World Cup in a league where defenders run like pensioners? Kylian knows a Saudi move now is the end of top-level football. Neymar's the cautionary tale, turned up a superstar, ended up a meme for injuries and extra weight. Why swap all that for money he already has for 3 lifetimes? The Saudis won't quit. They'll keep coming back, upping the offer and promising the moon. But while Mbappé's young and hungry, with big stage targets, no pile of cash will make him trade the Bernabeu for Riyadh. Maybe in 5 years, when the pace tails off and the trophy haul is complete. Not now. Donnarumma could, after all, find himself at Manchester City. PSG have lost patience with the Italian and are prepared to sell while there are still bidders. This, despite Gigi helping the Parisians finally win the Champions League. Evidently, a single trophy is not enough to overlook the Ligue 1 errors. And Guardiola has, for whatever reason, decided this is the Italian he wants. The citizens have agreed terms with the goalkeeper. They now need to persuade PSG to accept a reasonable fee. Luis Enrique has moved on from Donnarumma, and this comes right after a Champions League triumph. Imagine how disappointed the Spaniard is in the Italian. You deliver the prize PSG have long coveted, yet the coach still wants you out. That says a lot. Enzo Raiola, Gigi's agent, is outraged by PSG's stance. He says there has been no respect after 4 years of service. The agent is shocked that PSG are setting inflated financial demands. What did he expect? This is PSG's way. They either overpay or they insist others overpay them. Raiola has already spoken with Guardiola, and supposedly everything is agreed. Only the fee with PSG remains. Donnarumma has just 1 year left on his contract, but the French still want to cash in. The agent says only Premier League clubs can meet PSG's demands. City are said to believe Donnarumma will improve their chances in the Premier League. Seriously? Though why am I surprised by the transfer? The statistics show many of you watch me regularly without subscribing. That's the real seriously? Guys, my self-esteem is falling faster than Donnarumma's price after the next howler. Please hit the button. It's no harder than playing a simple pass to Gigi. In other words, very easy. The citizens have Ederson, a goalkeeper perfectly suited to Pep's system. The Brazilian is excellent with his feet and initiates attacks. And Gigi? He even manages to miss-hit basic passes back to his defenders. If City do buy Donnarumma, it will be Guardiola's strangest transfer. Why would Pep want a goalkeeper who cannot play with his feet? Perhaps, after all the victories, the Spaniard wants a challenge to win the Premier League with a keeper who does not suit his philosophy.